Hello friends, in this session we will be talking about malicious software. Now what is malicious software? It is a complicated threat to the computer system are offered by program or code that take advantages of weaknesses in the computing systems. Such type of risks are known to us as malicious software or malware. In this situation, we are worried risk possesses to main application programs and utility programs such as editors and compilers and kernel level programs as well. This lecture observes malicious software with an individual stress on viruses and worms. This lecture begins with a review of different type of malware and thorough impression of various natures of viruses and worms. In our discussion, we present both risks and the measures to counter them. Now, let us understand what are the malicious software categories. Malicious software can be categorized into two categories. The first one is known to as parasitic, are basically parts of the program that does not present separately of some real application program, services or system programs. Viruses, logic bombs and trapdoors are some of the examples. Independent malware is a self-contained program that can be programmed and run by using operating system as a platform. Worms is one of the examples of that. Now, differentiation between the software risk can be made by the programs which do not make a copy of itself or replicate, and those they do replicate. The first ones are the programs or the parts of program that are started by a trigger or by a certain event. Some of the examples are logic bombs, backdoors and bot programs. The second category consists of either a code which are independent in nature, when executed may create one or more replica of itself to be set in motion afterward on the same or on the other system. Examples are viruses and worms. In the coming section, we will discuss about various type of these malwares. Now, let us understand backdoors. A backdoor is commonly known as a trapdoor, is an undisclosed access point into a program that permits someone who is aware of the backdoor to achieve access without going through the frequent security access procedures. In past, programmers had used backdoors justifiably to clear up and check programs. For example, when a programmer is writing code for application that has an authentication process or a long set of connections, want the user to go in many different parameters to run the application. To correct the program, the programmer may desire to gain spatial liberties to clear all the essential set of connections and authentication. The programmer may also want to ensure that there is some process of trigger the program when there is something wrong in the authentication process that is inbuilt in the application. The backdoor is the code that is familiar with some special series of input or is triggered by some specific user ID or by an doubtful series of events. Now, let us talk about logic bomb. It is the oldest and most popular type of program threat. Predating viruses and worms is known as logic bombs. The logic bomb is a code fixed in some actual program which trigger or blow up when a certain event takes place or certain circumstances are met. Example which used as a trigger for a logic bomb are the existence or non-existing of certain files, a particular day, a particular date or a time, or a certain user running an application program. Once activated, a bomb may change or delete data or certain files, hang a machine or do some other nasty things. Now, let us understand about Trojan horses. The word Trojan comes from the Greek mythology. The Trojan horse was used by the Greeks during their blockade of town called Troy. They build a huge empty wooden horse in which 30 of the most die-hard Greek soldiers hidden themselves. The rest of the Greeks imitate to run away, but actually they hid close by. The enemy won over the horses was a gift, and the blockade is over. Drag the horse into the city. The concluding night, the Greeks come out from the horse and open the castle entrance to the Greek army. A bloodbath followed, resulting in the destruction of town called Troy and the death or overpowering of all its citizens. A Trojan horse is generally a program or command process enclose hidden code that, when called upon, does some unnecessary or harmful functions. Trojan horse program can be used to achieve procedures indirectly that an illegal user could not achieve honestly. For example, to gain rights to use the file of some another user on a network system, a user will write a Trojan horse code that, when performed, will give access to the file of that system. Trojan horse code is difficult to detect. Another application of Trojan horse is data damage file of the file damage. Trojan horse code is embedded into some useful application program code. For example, a calculator program. By running its application code, it may also be quietly deleting the user's file. Trojan horses is classified by 3 models. In addition to perform the original program, it also performs some separate malicious program. It performs the role of the original program, but change the role to perform certain malicious activity. For example, a Trojan horse version of a login program that collects, steal all other passwords and show them in an open state. Performing a malicious procedure that entirely replaces the purpose of the original program, and so on. Now, let us understand what is mobile code. Mobile code means programs or code, for example, script, macro or other portable instruction that can be shipped unchanged to a varied collection of platforms, say Microsoft Windows, Linux, etc., and then implement with matching semantics. Mobile code is conveyed from a remote system or server to a local system and then carry out on the local system or on the client without the user's permission. Mobile code often acts as a mechanism for spreading viruses, worms or Trojan horses to the users or various clients' workstation or machines. In some cases, mobile code takes benefit of weaknesses to perform its own take advantage, such as illegal data admission or route negotiation, etc. Common means of transportation for mobile code include Java applets, ActiveX, JavaScript and VB scripts. Java applets, ActiveX, JavaScript and VB scripts perform their processing or execution on the client side. These anonymous programs can cause havoc. These programs can consist virus codes, for example, deleting files from the user hard disk or by stealing some of your personal or financial confidential information. The most popular ways of using mobile code for malicious operations on the confined system or on client system are cross-site scripting, interactive and dynamic websites, email attachments and download from untrusted sites or of untrusted softwares. Now, let us understand multiple threat of malware. Viruses and other malicious code may work in number of traditions. Their expressions are not uniform. This particular section is a short opening or more than a few connected concept that could be measured multiple threat malware. A multiple threat malware or virus contaminate in multiple ways. Typically, the multi-threat malware or virus is capable of infecting numerous type of files. A combined attack uses multiple procedures of infection or transmission to make the most of the rate of the infectivity and the harshness of the attack. A blended combined attack as is just like a enclose that includes numerous types of malware. Example is NIMDA attack, simply referred as worm. NIMDA uses 4 circulation techniques. The first one is email. A person unlock an infected email attachment. NIMDA virus will look for an email address in the host address book and then sends copies of itself with the attachment to all these addresses. The next one is Windows share. NIMDA scans client for not so secured Windows file shares, and then it uses NetBIOS 86 as the delivery system to infect files on that client host in the expectation that a client will execute the infected file, which will then activate the virus on that machine. The next one is web servers. NIMDA looks for a vulnerable server. It tries to relocate a copy of itself to that server and contaminate it with its file. And the last one is web client. If web client visit that the web server that has been contaminated by NIMDA virus, the client's machine will also be infected. Thus, NIMDA has got multiple worms, virus and mobile code features. Blended attack can multiply through other services such as immediate messaging and peer-to-peer file destruction. Now, let us understand about zombie. A zombie is a type of code that secretly attaches itself to the internet connected computer or machines and then perform attacks using the machine. It is very difficult to trace zombie code creator. Denial of service attack is generally performed using zombie and it is targeted against the websites. Zombies are generally attached to thousands of various other computers in the internet, and then website is targeted by using these computers. Now, we will talk about viruses. A computer virus is a code that change other application level programs by altering them. The alteration comprises by embedding virus code in the original program with a practice to make duplicate of the virus program, which also contaminate other application and network level programs. Very first instance of computer virus was reported in early 1980s. Comparing with biological virus, a computer virus is a piece of code or instruction which is of destructive in nature and it is able to make multiple copies of it. Common virus code attaches itself to any application level or network level on the host machine. From there, it propagates one computer to another and to another application level program in the host computer when it comes in contact with them. A new duplicate code is passed to it. Thus, the virus code can be multiplied from machine to machine by unknown clients by swapping disks or by using pen drives or through the network. In internet communication, access to various application level programs and software system on various computer provides a perfect environment for multiplication of the virus code. A virus code is a simple program that gets executed. The variation between a virus code and an application code is that virus code get executed in secret when that application level code get a chance to run. Function of virus code commonly includes deleting of various files or corrupting various host programs, that is the right of the administrator only. Execution computer virus code has following processes. Contamination method. Here, virus produces its duplicate copies of its code and it spreads. This process is also known as infection vector or direction. Activate. Incident or pre-decided condition that decides when virus code gets executed or activated. Payload. It is actually the destruction or damage in the host machine the virus code does. In its whole period of execution, virus went through these 4 phases. The first phase is dormant phase. Virus code in its ideal state or in a hang state. It will finally be set in motion by certain incident such as a date or a time or execution of some program or file or the disk space beyond some maximum value. It is not compulsory that all the virus have this phase. The next phase is propagation phase. Here virus gets embedded itself into some application or system program in the hard disk. The duplicate copy must not be the same to the spread edition. Virus often clone to bypass exposure. Now, every infected program hold a replica of the virus, which will go into a propagation phase. Activation phase. Here virus code gets executed and perform the function for which its code has been written. Activation phase is done by variety of system events that occurs, for example, counting of the numeral of times that this duplicity of the virus has made copies of itself. And the last one of them is the implementation phase. The function is performed. This function performed may undamaging, for example, a message propagation on screen, or destructive such as the ruin of programs or the data files. Commonly, the virus codes are written for a specific operating system or for a specific hardware platform. Modus operandi of virus is to take benefit of particular and the flaw of the existing system.